sees it coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race. Verstappen now snatches the championship trophy from Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to fight back.
So if there is one team that doesn't hope things will end the way they're ending as of now in 2022, that has to be Red Bull. After a dominant season and having the opportunity to finish 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, the Austrian team is now facing a lot of negativity and has to deal with Verstappen's actions against his teammate Perez. Throughout the Brazilian GP, Verstappen refused to obey team orders, and that's something that got the whole community talking. So what actually happened in Brazil, and what are the consequences of it? Max Verstappen did two moves in Brazil that really aggravated the Red Bull fans, but the first one on Saturday wasn't as harsh as the other one on Sunday. Verstappen dropped 3 positions during the sprint race due to a loss of downforce and tyre strategy, finishing 4th. At one point, Perez was 1.8 seconds behind Verstappen and asked the team if he could have his position. To this, the team didn't actually do anything since it was too late in the last lap and there wasn't a way that Verstappen could have conceded the position safely. However, many think otherwise, and they believe that Verstappen should have found a way to give the position to Perez and then successfully defend against Leclerc, who was following the Mexican in a span of a second. Nevertheless, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The race on Sunday of both Red Bull cars went horribly wrong for a team that has set such high standards. After the safety car restart at lap 7, Verstappen tried to complete an overtake on Hamilton on the outside of turn 1, but just wasn't completely able to. Entering the Senna corner, Hamilton had the right to the inside of it, and Verstappen refused to back down, so they both touched, and Verstappen had to go change the front wing immediately after the restart. According to Martin Brundle, a Sky F1 pundit, Verstappen deserved a bigger place there, and that's something that Horner himself said too. Max added that he knew that Hamilton wouldn't back out of that corner, so it was a do-or-die move for the Dutchman. Nevertheless, actions speak louder than words, and as a 2-time world champion, you should know better than to just expect everyone else to get out of your way. The stewards found Verstappen guilty for this accident and penalised him with a 5-second penalty, which he completed in the pit stop. Still, this is not what aggravates Red Bull fans the most, but before we get to that, let's see what Horner and Wolff have to say about the collision of the 2021 fiercest rivals. When talking about the crash, Horner said, "I thought he'd earned a bit more space than he was given. Lewis could have given him a bit more to work with because Verstappen was ahead going into the left-hander. It's unfortunate. I think it's the only incident that Max has had this year. So unfortunately, Max was deemed at fault with a 5-second penalty, which then just hurts our race even more. It was frustrating. We were surprised by the penalty because he basically got it for a racing incident." Now, contrary to him, Wolff said that he struggles to give a valid comment on this situation, adding, "I struggle to comment on the situation because it's irrelevant to me at that stage to attribute guilt or to have a judgment call here. I'd rather be happy about the win." Still, while we hope that we'll see many duels between Mercedes and Red Bull in 2023, this one had no effect on the Drivers' Championship between these two teams, as Mercedes proved that their car can win races and they're back in the fight for the P2 spot in the Constructors' Championship. However, let's get to the main point and talk about Verstappen's actions against Perez. During the second safety car restart, Perez was unable to maintain his position with the new medium tyres, and he was completely out of control in comparison to his pursuers. Sainz, Leclerc and Alonso were all able to complete passes on Perez, as the Mexican was now in position 6 with Verstappen behind him. It was obvious that Perez couldn't compete with Leclerc or Alonso, and Verstappen behind him was on a fresh set of soft tyres. Therefore, the team order was given for Verstappen to pass Perez in order to chase Leclerc and Alonso ahead of him, with the ultimate goal being passing Leclerc and stripping points from the championship battle. With just 4 laps remaining and 2 seconds distance, it was a challenge worth trying out for. However, had Verstappen failed the challenge, then he would concede the position back to Perez, and it became evident that Verstappen couldn't complete the challenge as he wasn't even able to pass Alonso, let alone Leclerc. But when his engineer, Lambiase, instructed him multiple times to give the position back to Perez, Verstappen didn't say anything. When the race ended, Lambiase asked Verstappen what happened, and to this Verstappen said, "I told you already last summer, guys, don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons and I stand by it." And it goes without saying that Perez was very disappointed with how the race ended for him, and when talking about this outcome right after he passed the pit lane, he added, Thank you for that. It just goes to show who he really is. He wouldn't have won his 2 championships without me. So what's the reason that Verstappen didn't want to give his position back to Perez? Obviously, it's hurting his legacy and reputation in the long run, and even Max's fans are baffled by what kind of move the 2-time world champion had pulled on his own teammate. But it seems like a move that Perez made in Monaco during the qualifying session lies behind Verstappen's motives. According to reports, Verstappen couldn't accept the fact that Perez crashed deliberately in Monaco, something that the Mexican admitted later on to Helmut Marko and Horner just to keep the P3 position ahead of Verstappen. It was Q3, ending stages of the session, and Verstappen had a flying lap behind him with purple sectors, but the situation remained the same, with both Ferraris securing the front row and Perez having the advantage over Verstappen. On top of that, Perez was also prioritised with the tyre strategy, and Verstappen was able to climb just 1 position thanks to Ferrari's blunders and the mistakes in the pit stop. Perez won the race, and after this race, he said that the championship fight is alive as he was just 15 points behind Verstappen. Strangely enough, this was the last race where we saw a competitive Perez, and from Baku on, his pace started to drop severely. He wasn't even able to fight the Ferraris and Mercedes drivers, let alone Verstappen. Max Verstappen spoke about the situation in a press conference afterwards, hinting that the Monaco situation could be crucial in his decision to not let Perez go, although the Mexican desperately needed more points in the championship fight for P2. When talking about it, Verstappen said, "Well, I have my reasons for that. We just discussed that, and I think it was better that we finally sat together and spoke about it and just moved forward from here. For sure, if we go to Abu Dhabi and he needs the point because they're tied, it's not the end of the world. It's about who finishes ahead anyway. If he needs help, I'll be there. But it's good that we talked about it now and basically cleared everything that was there why I didn't do it." But social media is a place where toxicity can be fueled very easily, as Verstappen said a couple of weeks ago when we were racing in Mexico. Still, Verstappen's mother, Sophie, wrote a comment on Instagram accusing Perez of cheating on his wife every night. The comment was then deleted, but now it remains like another dark mark on Verstappen's reputation, and the fact that his parents cannot behave properly just goes to show that the whole Verstappen family doesn't respect anyone who doesn't wear their surname. There was a lot of speculation about whether Perez would want to start the new season as a Red Bull driver, or if he would seek another seat because he isn't respected enough at Red Bull. After everything Perez did for Verstappen, after literally shaving 8 seconds off Hamilton's time in Abu Dhabi and defending fiercely against him in Turkey, this is far from the way he would want to be treated now that he needs points for the P2 spot in the Drivers' Championship. With that being said, Red Bull has shown its face yet again on the surface, and it seems like they're a team that, even though they have a superior car, cannot handle championship drivers well. It's never a good thing when a driver thinks he has outgrown a team, and if this is the case with Verstappen and Red Bull, then proper repercussions should be taken towards the 2-time world champion. So, what do you think about the drama that revolves around Red Bull? Let us know in the comments down below.